Hello, my name's Kat Wilcox. I'm one of the co-chairs of Ecosway along with Wendy Collier. Thank you so much to Tarina for inviting us to send a video. We're both really sorry we can't be with you. We've had a really busy few months and we both have diary clashes on Monday the 19th. But Tarina asked us to tell you a bit about what we've been doing under the Health and Wellbeing Pillar. So I'm going to talk you through some of that. It's quite a lot. But hopefully some of the ideas will be inspiring.
I don't know about you, but at Ecosway we struggled a bit thinking how we could make the health and wellbeing really tangible and respond to the needs of the people in the village. We felt really comfortable with the nature and with the energy day, which we listed some of the activities on the previous slide. But yeah, we found it difficult to think what we would do for health and wellbeing. Eventually, having gone through all the pack as a whole group, one of our members went to an activity at the local art gallery and education centre called Spudworks, and doing something completely unrelated to climate change, but said she felt it so relaxing for her, her hands to be busy, for her brain to be busy, to be sat with other people from the village and to be learning a new skill, and it felt a really warm, welcoming environment. So we thought, oh, there's a bit about art in the information pack, maybe this is something we can build on. And we went along to talk to Spudworks. They agreed to rent out their space to us. It was £150 renting out for a week. They had a slot at the end of September. And they also agreed to introduce us to their artists. They have about 10 resident artists. So we met and talked to all of them. 8 were really excited to join in. And this is where it started spiralling, because we had kind of imagined we'd have an exhibition in the exhibition space for the week, and we'd have some people on hand to talk about Ecosway. But all the different artists all have different specialities, and they all wanted to do something about the connections between climate change and wellbeing, community and art that suited their medium. So we ended up curating a whole week of activities. And this is what I'm going to talk you through over the next few slides. It's lots of things, but just that we hope that some of them might resonate with you and might make sense in your village. This second slide has 2 things on. On the right hand side you can see one of the posters we did for the week, so hopefully you can enjoy looking at some of the art that was on the exhibit. And on the left hand side, this is something that actually appeared on the walls of the gallery. It was printed onto vinyls on the walls of the gallery, but we devised some of the core of it really early on, and it kind of worked as our mission statement. And we found it really useful to keep reflecting back about what we were trying to do using this. And we also had some KPIs, which I'll talk about later, kind of indicators. And this is what we used when we were thinking about, should we do this, should we do that? As I'm sure all of you know, you're always swamped by 100 things. So because it's quite small, I thought I would read it to you. So here we go. The name of the exhibition was Connections, Art, Climate, Community and Wellbeing. Achieving the scale of change necessary to tackle climate change will require enthusiastic understanding and creative engagement. With this exhibition, the artists and the volunteers who have put it on aim to deepen our engagement with art, community, climate change and wellbeing, and the connections between them all. Our wellbeing and the things that matter most to us in life will be affected more and more as our climate changes. There will be negative impacts on the health and happiness of ourselves and those we love, on the places and the nature that grounds us and that we draw our identity from, and the feelings of purpose and hope that get us through those tough times. But many of the things that reduce our carbon footprint also support our resilience and well-being. Making space in our lives for nature, choosing active transport, insulating our homes, buying from and seeking enjoyment in our local community, to name a few. We hope you leave feeling rested, inspired and better equipped for the challenges ahead. So this is what some photos from the exhibition space itself. And it's a collection of art that was either developed for the exhibition or was donated to it by artists who are resident at Spudworks or other artists who live in the village. Everything was in response to our theme of connections, art, community, climate and well-being. And yeah, this is a few nice pictures for you to enjoy in this slide. During the week, we also had 2 talks, one by resident artist Dr. Steph James, who's at the top left, and she talked about art and climate change from around the world. So she gave, she's a professor and she lectures at a university locally, and I think she gave the talk she often gives about how artists engage with climate change, and illustrations from around the world. So it was really well attended, and it was lovely to see lots of people who we would never normally see at a normal Ecosway event coming to hear about that nexus. Also, we had another talk by a gentleman who's bottom left, and he talked about local green careers for young people. And again, that kind of attracted a totally different audience than we would normally do. But every session we did throughout the entire week was kind of begun with that reflection on thinking about the impacts of climate change, but also thinking about the climate actions we can all take that are good for ourselves and good for the planet, with a real focus on well-being. We also did a couple of walks that started off in the New Forest, then walked back into the village, and from there they explored the green spaces that we've identified across the village, where we're hoping to make spaces for nature under the nature pillar. So this was an opportunity for people to join a community walk. It was accompanied by poetry and music, and then also to kind of learn about what Ecosway's plans are under the greening campaign for next year. It also kind of was seeking custodians, people who live near those green spaces, and were volunteering to look after them going forward. It was really well attended, and it was really lovely to see people having conversations with new people from the village, and sharing some points of interest. But we did think it may be more suitable in other places to do kind of natural history walks, or to do local history walks, or to do walks at different times of the season. But again, just looking for people who are beyond your normal sphere and kind of using it as a hook to get them interested in other pillars. This worked really well, maybe something of interest. Here you can see some images from our family day. All the artists hosted a different station, and we had cyno printing and totem pole making and pebble painting, and you can see some the children made these tree spirits, kind of branches and tree discs. There was some clay modelling, which is just local. It's called sway treacle. It's local clay to sway. And this is a lovely way of getting lots of different people in, multi-generations. People came with grandparents, with parents, and we had to kick them out at the end of it. It was a really beautiful day with about 60 people in attendance. One thing that may be of interest is this little circle you can see on the bottom left, circle of tree spirits. So they were all made by children, and we had some stumps in between, and on the top of the stumps we had kind of a very simple guide saying, one of the most powerful things you can do for climate change is to talk about it with your friends, with your family, with your neighbours, with the person in the shop. And I had a few simple tips on how to have those difficult climate conversations. They shouldn't be difficult, but we all know that they are. And this was taken from a guide called Talking Climate. It's a handbook. If you search on the internet, you can find it. It was a really beautiful day. We were very lucky with the weather, and it was lovely seeing such an intergenerational activity. On one of the days, one of our artists, Zach Newham, went into the school, and he worked with the Year 6 children, and he made this that they had co-designed, this beautiful wood mosaic of the world with a kind of sunrise across it. I've forgotten what the types of trees. I think it was cherry and sycamore and something else. And he also at the time was talking about trees' role in carbon capture and kind of like a simple introduction to climate change as they were doing this piece of art. It also had the co-benefit of it meant that all the parents associated with the primary school in their monthly newsletter got a piece which you can see in the middle talking about the works that Spudworks and Ecosway are doing. So that went out to about 600 parents, which was great. No photos of this one, but in the middle of the week we also held a climate cafe in our exhibition space. This was hosted by Climate Cafe Ealing. They are a local group who are trained psychologists and they specialise in providing these. They provide them free across Southampton and the New Forest, and they might be willing to go further afield. We plan to have one aimed at 14 to 25-year-olds and one aimed at older adults. We didn't get any take up from the 14 to 25, even though we reached out to the secondary schools, the colleges, we put posters in bus stops. And I think the main problem was that we didn't have any ways in. With all other age groups, we knew someone who had strong connections in that age group in the village. But for this group, we just didn't know anyone. But the older adults was well attended, I think about 20, more than 20 people. And that was, really, really interesting. We had a real range of emotions from people who are very much at the beginning of their journey in exploring climate anxiety to people who, really are feeling it very strongly. So if this is something you'd like to do, we found it worthwhile, please do reach out to the group, and I'm sure they'd be happy to help you too, or to point you in the direction of someone who can. Lastly, during the week we also had 3 workshops. From left to right, it was a yoga workshop. In the middle is a sound and listening workshop, and on the far right is a loom weaving demonstration. Again, all 3 were about things which are really, really good for you, really nurturing for you, but also really low carbon, and give you this time for kind of reflection on what you can do for the planet. The loom weaving, we were using old recycled materials, and we were making draft excluders and things for keeping your house warm. So that was also a really lovely time, and again, each of them brought in totally different audiences than we would ever normally work with in Ecosway. So it was really nice to see the huge crossover and interest.
It's always useful to sum up with some of our lessons or our key takeaways. These include that we got sponsorship to put this week on. We got around £1,000 from the West Solent Solar Farm, and the week ended up costing us around £900. That included, as well as paying for the artist's materials, included a donation to the gallery. But it would not have been possible without that donation. It took a lot of time, probably a couple of 100 hours when you look across everyone's time across the 2 months run up and the week to deliver. So as you all know, make sure you do something that you're passionate about. What was really lovely is all the people who took part in the week and delivered the weeks, the artists and the Ecosway members, all had such a positive experience. Made new friends, made new connections with people they hadn't crossed paths with before, and therefore they felt all those tens and tens of hours individually became worthwhile. So yeah, as you know, really only do what a number of you are interested in doing. Also, we talked at the beginning about the mission statement we tried to follow. We also developed KPIs at the beginning, key performance indicators, and we kind of said, if we can do this, this is how we're going to judge our success. So they were looking at the number of people who attended. In the end, we think it's about 200, maybe 200, 250. The number of people who said they knew more about the connections between climate and well-being, that was 45% of the responses we had back. We had a response form, which we tried to give out whenever we remembered, and we got about 40 back. The number of people who feel more connected to the communities was 82%, which is really lovely to hear. And then the number of people who volunteered to be custodians of Sway's green spaces, so looking after those spaces for nature that we'll be working on next year, that's 9, which is really great. And the number of people who've signed up to receive information about Ecosway and about the art gallery, which is 22. So again, having those KPIs at the beginning really helped us keep focus on what we were doing and is this going to help us achieve those goals.
Lastly, probably a good time to wrap up, as I've just been joined by my 4-year-old. A huge thank you to the Greening Campaign, to Tarina and to Anthea. If you have any questions or this has been of interest and you'd like to figure out how to do anything or support, please do contact us on ecoswaynf@gmail.com or on Facebook. And yeah, wishing you all the best. Thank you. Bye bye.